Recording in progress.
All right, welcome everybody to Nibbin Ink Fest RSS You. And so this is hosted by Jay Pollock. They, them is a non-binary comic artist whose goal is to make unapologetically queer comics. They've been working in comics since 2013 as the artist for Topaz Comics with two completed webcomics, Dead City and Gender Slices, under their belt. Their specialty is autobio and character-focused short stories, and they have a side passion for coding and RSS feeds. You might know them for their three-page RSS intro comic. And just so everybody knows, there'll be a Q&A session at the end, as well as throughout it, you can choose to show captions at the bottom of the Zoom screen. And Jay, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Oh, thank you so much for being here, everyone. Um, I will share my screen. I have a presentation for everyone today on what RSS is and how you can use it for web comics and more. So I'll go ahead and share that. But yeah, hello. So this will be a rundown on what RSS is, how webcomics can utilize it, and how readers can organize what they're reading. This is for webcomic creators and readers alike. So like Alexis said, you may know me from my RSS intro comic that I posted in 2022 that kind of exploded. I was really surprised. It's been shared around so much, and it's still getting replies and comments with suggestions and questions for me. This made me realize that there were a few things I needed to expand upon a bit more. It was just a kind of very quick 101, and there's only so much you can fit into a 3-page comic after all. So you can read this comic on Topaz Comics under my one-shots category. I've also linked to it in the slide as well. But just the outpouring of curiosity for RSS feeds after I put out this comic was so heartwarming. And I'm really excited to go through a bit more in depth on how you guys can use RSS. So imagine a world. Picture this. You have a bookmark folder full of your favorite webcomics that you keep up with. You check each one every week or maybe every month to see if they've updated, because social media is getting more and more unreliable, and you may never see the update post about the webcomics update. However, this makes the task of keeping up with a webcomic even more daunting and laborious. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be that way? What if I told you that there's something that's been around for decades that will just give you those updates as they happen? No more checking and no more guesswork. So we enter RSS. This way you will never miss another update again. With RSS, I get a notification every time any webcomic I follow updates. As an example, there's 2 new updates for me in this screenshot. So let me just click on that and I'm sent right to the latest page. With RSS, you can get webcomic, website articles, social media posts, podcasts, and more to a feed that you make and control yourself. Shout out to Clover for letting me use Pia and the little things as an example. Be sure to add this one to your RSS reader after the talk. So I'll go into what RSS actually is. RSS stands for really simple syndication. But to put it in simple terms, RSS is an update feed that most websites have by default. I'll go over those that don't in a little bit. And every time the site publishes a post, an article, or a comic page, the feed is updated. Users can use feed readers to follow RSS feeds that will populate their readers with posts from those websites. The user has complete control over their feed, so when they follow an RSS feed, they will only get posts from the sites that they follow. There's no ads, no data collection, no tracking, algorithm, and it will not show you posts from people you don't follow. It's kind of incredible, right? But how does one access this incredible power, you may be asking yourself? So you're visiting a webcomic site. You've got it up, you've been caught up to the latest page, and you like it so much that you want to follow the RSS feed. In most cases, you'll find it as either the text RSS or as the button shown in the slide in either the top menu, the footer, or maybe a sidebar. If for whatever reason the site you're using does not have the button anywhere, never fear, because RSS is actually just a URL that you can usually tack either /RSS or /feed, as shown in the slide, onto any URL to get the RSS as shown here. And for example, here's how I have it set up on Topaz Comics. I have both the RSS in the top menu and as a little sidebar showing the 3 latest updates. Doesn't it look enticing? Don't you want to go follow it? If you run a webcomic, I highly recommend putting your RSS link in an easy to find spot. Okay, what do I do with it though? You've got the RSS URL, but now what? When you click on that button, usually in Chrome or any Chromium browser, it will show you a string of code. Or if you're using Firefox, it will ask you to download the code. You don't need to download anything, I promise. And this is where feed readers come into play because they will read this code for you. So let's enter feed readers. There's so many, and they've been around for so long. But I'll list just a few that I've tried out myself. I spent a long time testing these ones out, usually for a week or so to give them a proper go. We've got Feedly, first of all. It's a pretty standard reader, and I really like the extension that it has, but the company isn't the best, and I'll get into that a bit later. Then we have FeedBro, which is the other reader that I really like. It does work better for social media posts than webcomics for me personally, but I think that it has a really good and customizable UI. And then EnoReader is similar to Feedly, but I didn't really like their UI or extension as much as Feedly. But I know a lot of folks recommended this to me, and they really seem to like it. Thunderbird is owned by Mozilla, which I'm a big fan of. I love Firefox, and it was really neat because it's actually an email client, so you can have your email on there as well as it collecting RSS updates for you. It wasn't quite my jam, so I didn't stick with it. But I know, again, a lot of people really like that one. Everybody was recommending it. Feedbin felt a lot like Feedly to me, and you can sync it with your other devices, but you do have to pay $5 a month. After the trial period, which I gave it a shot. Wasn't my jam, but again, it's another like fan favorite for feed readers. And then I'll get into a weird one that people had recommended to me, and I did try. It's called Ukagaka Ghost. And this one is such an outlier compared to the others because it's a desktop buddy. If anybody in the chat remembers like Shimejis, it's kind of that, but updated. So you can program this little desktop buddy and edit it yourself, and it tells you when an RSS has updated. It also does a bunch of other things like you can have a calendar on it, and it can tell you to like drink water. The only reason I haven't continued to use this one as my main feed reader is because it's very time consuming to set up. But I do recommend looking it up and falling into the rabbit hole that it is Ugaka, especially for the artists in the chat. You can just draw your own little desktop buddy, but it might take some time. So after trying all these out, eventually I settled on two, Feedly for webcomics and Feedbro for social media. So these are the ones that I'll be using as examples going forward. I do recommend, like I said, trying out a few to see which ones work best for you. They all kind of look a bit different and have their own pros and cons, but what might work best for me may not be your cup of tea. So spend some time with them and get a feel for your feeds. Oops. Um, so you've got your feed reader. So let's start filling it up. So I'll be using Feedly as my example here. We'll take that RSS URL that we got earlier and plug it into follow sources. This might be different reader to reader, but there will always be some kind of input your RSS here option. Feedly also has a feature where if you don't have the URL, the RSS URL, sometimes you can just plug in the website and it will find the feed URL for you. But beware, this might not always work. Or it might give you an outdated one. Say the person moved hosts or websites. This happened to me a few times when I first started populating my feed, and I just didn't get any updates from a comic I followed. So giving it the RSS URL that you got from the source from that person's website is the most reliable way to follow feeds. And here's an example of clicking follow sources. You pop in the URL and then the little feed just kind of pops up. And then you click on that. Now you have the webcomics updates ready to read. Oh, actually, from here it's super easy. Just clicking the feed, you'll have the option to follow it. I like putting the comics I follow into folders, and here's where you have the chance to do that and organize. I have folders for webcomics, manga, news, and a separate folder for my own website feeds. And then this is kind of like what it shows when you follow the feed. So now you have your webcomics updates ready to read. From here, you'll be able to customize however you want your feed to look. Like maybe you like your updates as tiles with thumbnails, and then you just click on the title, it takes you to the website. Or maybe you like a scrollable feed where you can see the whole article plus the author's description as seen on the right here. Most readers are customizable to your tastes. And like I said, play around with it and see what works best for you. So my Feedly experience. So I don't actually touch the Feedly site itself. Instead, I have the Feedly Firefox extension to notify me every time a webcomic updates. I see a little red number appear, and I know that there's a comic page waiting for me. My ideal way of reading a webcomic is on its own website, so this method does work best for me. All I have to do is click the update title, and it automatically takes me to the website and marks the update as read, so it doesn't stay in my drop-down drawer. Feedly isn't the greatest company. With the free plan, you can follow 100 feeds. Most corporate readers have some kind of cap. I think Eno readers cap is 150 instead. But Feedly, they're really pushing for AI garbage, and they have added a quote unquote explore tab to their site, which defaults or which defeats the purpose and I think the spirit of RSS. But I haven't found a reader that I like better for webcomics, especially since the only time I open the Feedly site is to actually add a new comic, and that's about it. So if you want to try Feedly, I highly recommend testing out the the extension. I believe you can also get it on Chrome as well. Okay, so you tried out a bunch, but what happens if you find a better reader. I did say that I tried out a good number of readers. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, wasn't that a lot of work? I know all of you are sick from moving from social media site to social media site every few years, but this is where RSS is superior once again. Switching to an RSS reader is honestly so easy. Every reader gives you the option to export your feeds as either an XML or an OPML or both. Taking this file, you can import all your feeds you follow into any other reader in a matter of seconds. Here's an example of the 2 steps it takes to move from Feedly to FeedBro if you ever wanted to. Experiment and try out all the settings a reader has to offer. It may actually surprise you. Okay, so we talked about comics, and I also really wanted to talk about RSSing social media. I do use 2 different feed readers, like I said, Feedly for webcomics and FeedBro for reading social media posts. After the downfall of Twitter and folks are moving to so many different sites all at once, I thought, could I make a big feed of all my friends' posts without having to switch between Tumblr, Blue Sky, Mastodon, etc.? Because like I said, almost every website has an RSS, and this includes most social media sites. I tried to use Feedly for this at first, but it got in the way of how I used Feedly to read webcomics. My little red number was always in the hundreds suddenly. So I tried some new readers out again, and I landed on FeedBro for my social media needs. FeedBro is just a browser extension. There's no login, and it runs off of OPML or off of an OPML file that you can export anytime. It also doesn't sync with my phone, which was perfect for me because it limits my social media scrolling to my computer and my computer only. Uh, it's very customizable in ways that I really, really like. I made mine look like 2012 Tumblr, which is really nostalgic for me and makes me feel like I'm kind of back on the old web. So my FeedBro experience, I just really like FeedBro. I was really hesitant on it at first, especially because of the name. But like I said, it's really customizable it's got 6 view types. I personally like the first option, which shows the entire post in a long scroll view. Again, looks like Tumblr. There's no following limit, and you can follow as many RSS feeds as you want. I think I'm at 210 myself. Similarly to Feedly, it comes with a little number icon that you can have in your browser bar that shows how many unread posts you have. But clicking that on it doesn't take you to the posters site. It takes you to your FeedBro feed, your kind of like dashboard. This is why I don't use it for webcomics. And then turning on the show only unread articles option makes it so once I get to the bottom of my feed, once that little number reaches 0, I'm done. I can't keep scrolling. I have to go draw some comics instead. Of course, your feeds will update throughout the day, so it is tempting to click on that little number anytime anything shows up. Um, uh, and then lastly, I really like how the rules work, which are also highly customizable, and as shown in the last screenshot here. I can filter certain words within a post, within a title, or a post author, and have FeedBro auto-delete those, which is really nice for if I want to avoid posts from certain people or say I'm a bit squeamish. So I filtered out any kind of blood or gore anytime anybody mentions that. So using FeedBro for social media, not much is different than how following webcomics works. I follow RSS feeds from Tumblr, Blue Sky, Mastodon, and also artists' own websites, and it collects all of those posts into one big feed for me to read. You'll be inputting that RSS URL into FeedBro, but FeedBro also has this really cool feature where if you're, say, on someone's Tumblr, here's my Tumblr, you should go follow me, clicking on the browser icon in your toolbar, where the little number is, FeedBro can pull up your feed, or pull up the feed for you right then and there if you click Find Feeds in Current tab. And then you can add it to a folder and you're done. This new feed can now be found when you open FeedBro. When you follow a new feed, what I found is that FeedBro gives you the latest 20 posts, and those will appear in your feed. So you won't be bogged down by the person's entire archive. This is also the case for following comics on Feedly. I think only a few recent posts will populate your reader. I didn't actually check to see how many might appear, but 20 is the default for FeedBro. But yeah, try out FeedBro's Find Feeds option on any number of sites. It works on Tumblr, it works on Blue Sky, Mastodon, YouTube, podcasts, and most sites. I did find that following Blue Sky posts was a bit harder. Sometimes it won't show images, but from what I understand, Blue Sky's RSS is very new, and they're still working out a bunch of the kinks with that. Now, I do also have an Instagram folder in the slide here, and it's the only way that I can see posts from Instagram since I no longer have an account. Instagram doesn't technically allow for RSS feeds, but FeedBro does try to cobble one together for you if you use Find Feeds in Current tab. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And even then, the posts coming from Instagram don't always load in the feed. Sometimes it's just the text, sometimes it's just the images. FeedBro, it seems like it's trying its best. So not all sites are RSS friendly. Most of the time, a site that allows you to publish a post has RSS. But some sites don't work that way or are aggressively against it. Instagram is the best and biggest example for this. But if you're following folks on an RSS feed, you won't get ads or posts from people you don't follow, and we can't allow that, can we? Twitter, or X, has recently also followed suit with this. They just are so actively against RSS. They don't have feeds. There are some generators that allow you to pop in, say, an Instagram URL, and it might make you a feed. But like I said, very similar to FeedBro, it doesn't always work. So the other one is galleries on sites don't usually work with RSS either. When a gallery like this is updated, the information is not sent to the RSS because it's not really a traditional post. And I have a gallery on my portfolio site just for illustrations. And I'm not super worried about the RSS on my portfolio because I have RSS on my art blog instead. So you can see the difference between those two in the slide. It's basically if the website that you're on has a traditional posting system, then RSS is likely to work. Okay, so you make a webcomic. If you make and publish a webcomic, please have an RSS button somewhere on your site. People do use RSS, and you'll be doing them a big favor by having it loud and proud. But maybe you don't know if you have an RSS. So WordPress, Comic Fury, and Tapas all have RSS by default. You may have to do the URL trick to see what URL your RSS is. And for convenience, I've included the RSS URL structure for those sites that I did just mention. WordPress uses /feed. Comic Fury uses /RSS. And Tapas is a bit different. It uses tapas.io/RSS/ your series number, or your comic ID, I think it's called. So once you find it, I want you to follow your own feed. So get your feed reader, follow your own feed. I like putting my own in its own folder, so that I know how many posts I have posted, but this ensures you know that it's working properly. You don't want a month of updates to fly by while your RSS was down. This means that none of your readers got those updates. Follow it and try it and get it fixed as soon as you can. Though there's not much that can go wrong, luckily, with RSS, I have had to contact my own host a handful of times to fix some hosting issues. It was usually some kind of server problem, but it did affect my RSS a few times. But I do follow all my own feeds, so I know when they've gone down. The other thing is it does take some time for feeds to update. So don't worry if it's been a few hours and your feed hasn't updated. Just give it some time, especially if you, when you first follow a feed, it might take some time to update. So I'm going to talk about NeoCities for a sec. So personally, I don't have a NeoCities, but I know a lot of folks who do and post their webcomics through it using Rarebit, which is such a great free webcomics option, and it'll get you familiar with a bit of coding, which I really like. But however, NeoCities does not have RSS enabled by default. Never fear. You can manually add your RSS feed to your NeoCities site using this guide at rssguide.neocities.org. And if you use Rarebit for your comic, while I believe the previous link only works for certain NeoCities sites, or like standard NeoCity sites, you can integrate an RSS feed with Rarebit by following the guide by VVV at www.leopard.space/software/rarebit-RSS. There's always an option if RSS isn't available. Whatever site you are using to post your webcomic, do some digging, see if it doesn't have an RSS, how can you implement it? You can manually make an RSS feed. This does involve inputting links into the code that I showed earlier. And personally, I've never had to do that just because WordPress does it automatically for me. But there are always options to integrate RSS into your website. So in conclusion, I hope I've convinced you about how great RSS is. I really, really do. It's a really powerful tool where you are in complete control, avoiding ads, no bloat, no posts you didn't sign up for, and not to mention, you're not giving your personal data away. So let's all avoid shitification together. I recently listened to episode 20 of the Dot Social podcast featuring Cory Doctorow speaking about RSS, which was a big help in writing this talk. Other folks running NIF events have also mentioned Cory already and his coining of the phrase "shitification," and I sincerely believe that RSS is the way out. I believe RSS can save us from that. I'll end off with a quote from the episode from Cory. You are free of the bad decisions of the people you are relying on, but it also means that they know it. So thank you all for listening. And a big thank you to Alexis for moderating for me and the Cartoonist Co-op for giving me this opportunity to chat a little bit about RSS to you all. This talk is recorded and will be available on the Cartoonist Co-op YouTube after it's live. I may also post the slides and the write-up to this talk on my website. So be sure to follow my RSS feeds listed in the slide, and check out all the other events that NIF has to offer.
All right. Did anyone have any questions for Jay?
I will stop sharing my screen. But yeah, thank you. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to say you covered everything, but so actually, Tess has a question.
Yeah,
I
Tess.
love that you can use RSS for social media, but is there other things that would be useful to add to an RSS feed?
So absolutely. I know lots of folks who follow podcasts through RSS. Every podcast has an RSS, like by default, no matter what. That's how, if you're using like a podcast app, that's just an RSS reader, which is kind of bananas. Um, Again, you can also follow YouTube channels, or news articles. You can follow news websites. That's where I get most of my news. It just populates my RSS feed. Um, but yeah, if there's any kind of website that makes posts, then that's what you can use, or that's what you can follow.
Max asked, any pitfalls of RSS we should be aware of?
Like I said before, not every website uses it. So like following Instagram sometimes just doesn't work, because they are so against it. And I've also found that by using Feedbro as my social media big giant feed, in order to interact with those posts, you do have to open them in new links, which doesn't bother me so much, but I do want to let you guys know that is something that will happen. I mean, you can't comment on posts on your feed reader. You also, if say you're following a Tumblr, you also don't get to see the tags, which is too bad. That's the big downside for me. I do like seeing people's tags on posts, but it is a worthwhile sacrifice to me. There's some good suggestions in the chat. Delphina says RSS can also be used to connect to stuff like Discord bots or auto posting. It's a cool technology that's been around for a while, and coders have done cool things with it. Absolutely. Like I said a bit before, the Uka Gaka ghosts, one, everybody should just go look at a video of that because it's incredible. It started as like a cute anime girl on your desktop, that you can like play with, but people have taken it to like a whole new level where it has like calendars and reminders and RSS on it, and it's just like I said, the only reason I haven't used it as my RSS reader is because I know I'm going to get obsessed with it. I'm going to draw a little character, and then you can give them outfits, and then you can program them to react when you click on them or when you double click on them. It's kind of wild.
And we got from Frosty Shark. Is social media feed only for people you follow? Like you pick people to put in the feed?
Yes. So very similar to how the webcomics work. You have your RSS feed, and the only items that will show up on there are ones that you input yourself. However, if you are following folks on Tumblr, which I do, because Tumblr is great, uh, you will still get reblogs. So if like I follow my own Tumblr as well, if I reblog my partner Max, then Max's post will also show up. But it's very similar to if you were following that person on Tumblr. In the same way that like they will reshare things, they will reblog things, and you get to see those. You don't only get those posts, but the feed readers will not give you an algorithm. It won't give you people that you don't follow won't just show up with their own posts, which I think is like the real power of RSS. You are free of algorithms.
All right. Well, if there aren't any more questions, oh, yes, okay. If there aren't any more questions, I'm just gonna drop the Cartoonist Cooperative donation link in chat,
Oh yes,
as
please
well
do.
as the link to the Oops All Comics zine, which is a zine that we put on with a bunch of different artists. And Jay, would you like to say anything to wrap us up?
Well, again, thank you so much for having me. Go join the co-op. It's fantastic. There's so many great resources, and I'm so happy to include RSS in there as a resource for everybody. And I really hope that you guys give it a shot, try it out, and at me with any other cool feed readers that you do find. I'm always looking at the comments on my RSS comic, which I have posted everywhere. And I like giving new feed readers a shot. But thank you everybody for coming. I hope this was informative, and I hope you are free from algorithms. And also go read some webcomics.
Absolutely. Well, everyone have a great day, and make sure to check out the
Recording
rest
stopped.
of the fair. All right.